Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be sharing what I would buy if I lost all my makeup. So I know this video is kind of recirculating on YouTube again. I feel like this kind of went around last year around this time, and I've done this video myself about a year ago, but I wanted to do an updated version because some of these products are the same, but some of them are different. So I was trying to be very strategic and strict with this list. I didn't pick too many things per category. I tried to really narrow it down. Most of them I do have on my face today, so you'll be able to see me use them, and let's get into it. Before we do, if you're new here, my name is Blair. I do all kinds of beauty and makeup content here on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I hope you'll subscribe, and let's get into it. All right, I'm just gonna go in the order in which I typically apply makeup. So we'll start out with primer. So I have two priming type products. One of them is not necessarily a primer, but the first one that I would go out and buy right away is the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. This is the newer version with niacinamide. I've also tried just the original Power Grip, and I like both just the same. But when I use this primer, not only does my makeup really cling to it so that it lasts all day, but overall my makeup just wears better. I'm not sure what it is, but even some of you have told me you feel the same way about this primer. Something about it just works well for my skin, and every time I use it, I'm very happy that I did. So I would always go out and buy this again. I have quite a few primers in my collection now. I've kind of been on a primer journey for the last few months, and so far this is the one that's made the biggest impression on me. And then the second one is, like I said, not necessarily a primer, but I know it has to be this one. It just does. Yes, I love the e.l.f. Halo Glow as well. I think that one's a great one too, but I know myself, and I know if I didn't have anything and I was starting over, I would buy this one first. This one is in the shade number 3. This is what I use today. I can use shade 3, shade 2, 2.5. I just kind of go with whatever I have in front of me at the time, but today I use shade 3. This one is just my go-to glowy base highlighting type product. I would choose this over everything. Honestly, that's just my preference. I do like the e.l.f., but I like this one just a little bit more. Moving on to one of my favorite things in the whole world, which is color corrector. And if you've been around my channel, you know probably what I'm gonna say. I had to pick two here. You'll know why in a minute, but of course I had to go with Bobbi Brown. So we have two different formulas, the Bobbi Brown Skin Corrector Stick and the original Bobbi Brown Corrector. I wear the shade Bisque in both of these. This is just something I will never not have. It just won't happen. I will always have both of these, and the reason why is the Skin Corrector Stick is not as full coverage. It's a much lighter color corrector. It does a great job, but it's just not quite as opaque and pigmented as the original one. So typically when I use this, I will try to kind of counteract that and use a little bit of a fuller coverage concealer. And then when I use the original, I will use a concealer maybe that's not quite as full coverage because I'm getting most of what I need from this. But these I will always have. If you have dark circles and you have not tried Bobbi Brown color correctors, you are missing out. I promise you. Do yourself a favor and buy one during the Sephora sale that's coming up. I will never ever be without. Moving on to foundations, complexion products. So I only allowed myself to pick two from this category, and I could have picked a few more, but the two that I went with, one of them I'm sure is obvious, and it's the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. I know I talk about this one all the time, but it's because it truly is my number one. I would choose this over anything. This is the one that I have on today, and I just There is nothing I dislike about this. It is lightweight, but it still gives great coverage. It doesn't look heavy on my skin. It's a little bit glowy, but it's not too glowy. It wears well. You can build it up or wear it more sheer. This is it for me. And it has been since I tried it. Nothing has dethroned this yet. So we'll see. Maybe nothing ever will, but as of now, I would always choose this and always buy it again. And the second thing that I picked is a skin tint. Now this one may or may not surprise you, I'm not sure. But if I had to pick one lighter coverage, lighter makeup type product, it would be this, the Fenty Eaze Drop Blurring Skin Tint. I have been using this a bit more on my channel in the past few months, but this is my favorite skin tint. It is very unique. Like the name says, it's a blurring skin tint, and it really is. It's not a typical super luminous, glowy, almost highlighter looking type formula. I feel like a lot of skin tints, just the nature of that type of product is typically very glowy, and I like that, don't get me wrong, but this is such a good happy medium. It's not matte, like a flat matte, but it does have a little bit more of a natural, slightly matte finish than typical of this type of product. Gives really good coverage. The shade number 3 is a perfect shade match for me when I don't have any self-tan or any natural tan. And this skin tint wears so well, especially if you set it with powder, but even if you don't, this lasts really well on me. I also think this is great for all skin types. If you have oily skin, I think you would like this. Even if you have dry skin, I think you would like this. So I would always repurchase this. All right, for concealer, I picked 2 and only 2 from the same brand, and these probably won't be a shock either. The first one is NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. This is what I have under my eyes today. I love to have 2 shades. I use Creme Brûlée the most under my eyes, and then I use Madeleine on my face if I want to use it anywhere other than under my eyes. This is so popular for a reason. I kind of had to get into this product. I feel like years ago I tried it. I didn't love it. As I kind of got more into makeup, I tried this again, and now I consistently reach for these all the time. This is, I would say, a solid medium coverage. You're not going to get a full coverage from this, but it's really good for, honestly, fuller makeup days and lighter makeup days. If you just use a small amount of it, it can be a lighter coverage, but you can get a pretty full medium coverage as well. One of the biggest keys with this, in my opinion, is after you apply it to your under eyes, you do need to let it kind of sit and warm up a little bit under your eyes if you're wanting more coverage from it, because this product, if you do go right in and blend it, you're not going to get as much, particularly with this formula. But I can't see myself ever not having these, so I had to go with this. And then the other one, I'm sure you also probably know if you watch my videos, these Soft Matte Concealer from NARS. I did not use this today, mainly because I didn't really need it anywhere. I used the Light Reflecting Foundation and then the Radiant Creamy Concealer. Typically, the 2 ways I use these the most are for blemishes, which I don't have any blemishes right now, but this is the best spot concealer ever for anything that you really need to cover up. If you have texture, blemish, whatever it is, this is the best way to cover it. Just, you need the smallest bit. It's matte, so you're not going to emphasize texture, anything like that. And I'm telling you, this stuff is amazing. Everybody should have one of these. But my other favorite thing to do with these, and I've done it in a few videos, I do it all the time actually, but I love to wear this as my all over complexion product, and then underneath I love to pair it with this. Doesn't have to be this, but any glowier base with this over the top. I'm telling you, such a good light everyday makeup combo that I do all the time. So those are the concealers that I would pick. Okay, before we move on, I kind of wanted to explain my thinking behind these things. And really what I asked myself when I was choosing these things is, what products do you own right now that if you ran out of them tomorrow, so if I used it all the way up, what would you go out and buy and not think twice about it? Not be tempted to buy something else or tempted to get a new launch or something that's a little bit more new and exciting. That's how I picked these products. So that's how I know that these are true favorites. So moving on to bronzer. So I guess I picked 3 for this. I tried to only pick 2, but I had to go with 3. The first one is the Soft Sculpt Skin Enhancer from Makeup by Mario. This is my go-to everyday cream bronzing type product. I love it. As you can see here, I wear shade light medium. And I can't see myself ever not having this. As I've said many times before, this is a foolproof product. You cannot mess this up. I don't care if you're super advanced or you've never used a cream bronzer or a cream product in your life. You can use this and you will love it. I will always have one of these in my makeup collection. Not what I would go for on like a fuller makeup day. So if I'm like really doing a full face of makeup like I did today, I would go for this, you guys. It's this. I've been ruined with this. This is the Westman Atelier Face Trace Contour Stick in the shade Biscuit. This is what I have on today as cream bronzer. And this is just one of those things that it was immediate love. From the first time I used it, I loved everything about it. The color, the formula, the way it looks on my skin. I won't be without this now. And this is the mini size, obviously, but at some point, if I use this up, I will not even think about buying the full size. I will not hesitate. That's how much I love it. I think if you're around my skin tone and you want something that could be a contour shade, but isn't too gray and too cool toned, this is it. And then the last one might shock you. The powder bronzer that I picked is actually not technically a bronzer. I would honestly spend my money on the cream products, mainly the Westman Atelier, because that one is very pricey. And I would get this as a powder bronzer. This is the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Powder, but it's in a darker shade for me. This is the shade 320 Natural Tan. So I got this back when I did the full face of Maybelline a few months ago. I got this just to try out as a bronzer and I ended up loving it. This is a face powder, so you do actually get a little bit of coverage from this as well. So it's a little bit different than using just a standard bronzer, but I love this color. I love the formula on this. I like the translucent powder in this as well, but I would probably go with this instead of spending a lot of money on a powder bronzer right away. I find that I reach for my cream bronzers a lot more typically, so I would spend the majority of the money on the cream and save a little bit on powder bronzer. So if you've never tried a face powder as bronzer, this is your sign to try it. Moving on to blush. Obviously, this was very difficult. I don't know what I would do if I lost all my blushes because they're just my favorite thing ever. So I picked a few. Honestly, I really wanted to pick more, but I tried to tone it down a bit. The first one is the one that I'm wearing today, and it's the Rare Beauty blush in the shade Hope. This blush, I just constantly reach for this. It is kind of a mauve-y, pinky color, and I find that it goes with pretty much all the makeup looks that I do. I just feel like it goes with everything. The thing about these Rare Beauty blushes, two things. They are very pigmented, as you always hear. That is definitely true. But if the pigment makes you nervous, it's very easy to kind of work around with that. You can put it on your hand, get it on your brush, then go on your face. If you're a beginner, I wouldn't tap it straight on your face and try to blend it. That can be a little bit tricky, but These are very pigmented, but they last so long. These do not fade on your cheeks. I'm telling you, they last, and I just love it. I actually love mixing this as well with some type of illuminating product like this, or the Rare Beauty highlighters, anything glowy that you have. This is just fantastic, and Hope is my favorite. If I had to pick one, I would pick Hope. Then I picked a newer one to me, and I know, but this one, you're gonna have to pry this out of my hands. The Westman Atelier, I think these are called Sweet Cheeks blushes, and this one is the shade Petal. Kind of a similar shade, honestly, to Hope from Rare Beauty. This is just obviously a different formula. It's a cream, not nearly as pigmented as the Rare Beauty blushes, but this one is also really beautiful on your lips as well. Honestly, so is the Rare Beauty one, but as I've said a few times recently, I've just fallen in love with Westman Atelier over the last few months, and I have a feeling if this or this, the Face Trace Contour, disappeared, I just don't see myself not buying them again. And then I picked a powder blush. This one might shock you, and I could think of so many that I love, but one that I just use constantly, you may not see it a ton in videos, but I reach for it a lot, is this one from Maybelline. So this is the Fit Me blush in the shade 20 Mauve. So they call it mauve. I would say it's more of like a light pink, I guess, with a little bit of a purpley undertone to it, but to me it just looks like a really light pink, but it's not super pigmented. Has a little bit of sheen to it, but it's not super dewy or glittery or anything, but it looks so good over pretty much anything. So today I have a little bit of this on over the Rare Beauty blush, and I love it. But this, honestly, this color goes with everything, in my opinion. It's also very similar to Hourglass in Sublime Flush, which I also have and love. But I reach for this blush constantly, and I can honestly say I would go out and buy this immediately. Moving on to powder. I only picked one powder, and it has to be this one, the Haus Labs I think it's the Bio Blurring Loose Setting Powder in the shade Translucent. I talk about this all the time, and this is the one right now. For me, I absolutely love this. I love it all over my face. I love it for under my eyes. I love the applicator, it's not an applicator, but the component has this netting here, so you just dip your brush in and get the powder out that way. I use this more than any of my other powders at the moment, and it is blurring just like the name says. It's talc free. It has no color, so it doesn't change the way your makeup looks at all, and it doesn't look powdery on your skin, but yet it just smooths everything over. I've been recommending this powder so much lately, but this is the only one that I picked. So the Haus Labs Loose Powder. Moving on to brows. The brows kind of change for me. The pencils really don't, but the brow gel or wax usually kind of changes. But right now, the one that I keep using over everything else, and honestly, when I use this up, I'm gonna buy the full size of it, is the new one from Benefit. It's the Fluff Up Brow Wax. So this kind of gives you a similar effect to like the e.l.f. Brow Lift, which I also like, but it's with an actual wand and a spoolie. This is a great brow wax. It really holds your brows in place, but there is no residue. There's no weird white goopy looking stuff in your brows, but it actually does hold your brows in place, but it's not too much to the point where you can't brush through them. I have been reaching for this over everything, and this is the little mini size, but I do plan to buy the full size when I run out of this. So this would be my go-to brow gel at the moment. And then brow pencil, I have a few that I could mention that I love, but the one that I'm using the most right now that I would go buy again is this one, the L'Oreal Brow Stylist Definer in Ash Brown. This is similar to the NYX Micro Brow. I think the color on this is just a little bit better. I wear the shade Ash Brown in both, but Ash Brown in the L'Oreal one I find is just, I don't know, it's a little less dark, I think, just a little bit lighter in terms of shade than the NYX one, but they're both great. This one is waxy, but not too waxy. It's very easy to use. It has a spoolie on the end, and I always like how my brows turn out when I use these two products. So these would be the two brow products I would go buy again. Okay, moving on to eyeshadow. This was honestly pretty easy. The first thing that I would definitely go out and buy would be this from Sigma. It's the eyeshadow base and primer. I have the shade Ignite, which is just a really light cream shade, but this is basically, like the name says, it's a cream shadow, but it also acts as a primer for your shadows. This is just something I use all the time. I grab this all the time and just kind of scribble it on my eye, blend it in with a brush or your finger, and you can either put shadow over the top or just set it with some translucent powder, and it just kind of evens out your eyelids slightly. But I like this because it's in a stick form, so it's just a little bit quicker than some of my other priming type products, but I would definitely go out and buy this. In terms of actual eyeshadow palettes, there are two that I would buy again, and I'm sure you know what they are. One of them you can't get, but I would go out and buy this. The Patrick Ta Major Dimension, the original palette. This is what I use today on my eyes, and I've talked this one into the ground because I just love it. It's just something that if I lost mine truly, I would just go right out and get another one, because this is just me in a palette. Today what I did, and one of the things I love about this palette is you get cream shadows in here, so you get two of them. So I actually took the lighter cream and I started with that as a base. I put that all over, so I put it on my lid and kind of up into the crease. Then I used this shade, which is probably the shade I use the most in this palette. It's just a good neutral transition shade. Kind of put that in the crease and buffed it all over where we put the cream. Then I put a little bit of this bronzy shimmer topper in the center of my lid. This palette is a neutral lover's dream if you like the option of having some shimmer or glitter on your eyes. If you don't, I wouldn't get this because they do have quite a few pretty shimmery shades in here. But if I could, I would also buy the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes palette. I didn't bring it out here because you can't get that palette, and I don't know what's happening with it or if it will ever come back. I hope that it does, but if I lost that palette, first of all, I would be absolutely devastated because I also love that palette, and if I had the option to buy it again, I absolutely would. I picked one eyeliner, and this has been my holy grail for a few years at this point, and it's the Charlotte Tilbury Classic Eye Powder Pencil in Classic Brown. I also have Shimmering Brown that is more of a bronze color. This one is just a true matte, but basically it is eyeshadow in a pencil. So it's very easy to get a really natural, more soft eyeliner look with this product. So today I started it kind of in the center of my eye, came out, and then made just like a little tiny wing with it. And it's easy to use, it's easy to manipulate because it's shadow. So it's very soft. It's also very easy to clean up if you mess it up because, again, it's eyeshadow. I reach for this all the time, whether I'm doing full face of makeup or not as much makeup. This is just a staple for me, so I would always go out and buy this again and again. And then I only picked one mascara, and it is this one. This is it. This is the holy grail mascara for me right now. In fact, this one, I used it today, but it's starting to get a little bit dry, so I think it's time to replace this, but it's the e.l.f. Lash and Roll mascara. Nothing has excited me like this in a mascara in a very long time. It has a curved wand, which I personally like. It is identical to Benefit Roller Lash if you like that mascara, this is identical and it's $6. And it comes in brown, which is even better. I have the brown one right here. This adds length and separation. Doesn't do a whole lot in terms of volume. I would say this one is definitely more for length and a little bit of lift, but it is my absolute favorite. It does not smudge or flake on me. I honestly have to force myself not to use this one. So this is the mascara I would go out and buy again. And last, for the lips, this was also hard because I have a lot of lip products and I love a lot of them, but for lip liner, I picked two. The first one is the one I have on today. It's Pat McGrath Structure. This is the perfect pinky nude. Actually has a little bit of brown in it, I would say, but it's a rosy brown. It's just slightly darker than my natural lip color and it's creamy, but this one lasts on my lips. This is an all-time holy grail. Will always have it. Love this one from Pat McGrath, but I also love this from NYX in the shade Nude Truffle. So this is more of a true nude liner, and this one is not quite as creamy as Pat McGrath. So you can see this one is much more of like a true nude, but this is just a great one to have. It's kind of a neutral color, not super cool toned or super warm, kind of right in between. They both last well. I will say the Pat McGrath lasts a little bit better on me, but I love them both and I will go out and buy them both again. In terms of a lipstick, this is gonna really shock you because you guys have not even seen this lipstick because it's new to me, but it is my new favorite lipstick. Yes, it is my new favorite lipstick, hands down. I have it on right now and it's from MAC and it's one of the Luster Glass lipsticks in the shade Thanks It's MAC. I'm sure you've seen this color. I feel like this color's gotten a lot of attention lately. This is my new favorite lipstick for sure. So it looks like this. It's like a peachy, kind of pinky, light nude. It's a little bit glossy looking, so it's not matte and it's not super glossy, but it has a little bit of sheen to it, almost just like a tiny bit of shimmer in it that just looks really pretty. And paired with that Structure lip liner, I love it. My new favorite lipstick. Also, something I will always have, I don't have this on today, but I talk about these constantly, the Makeup by Mario Moisture Glow lip serums. One of the ones that I use the most is Petal Glow, which is just kind of a little bit of a peachier pink. So it looks like that. I guess it's a little more cool toned pink actually, kind of a rosier pink. If you like really glossy lips, and this one is a serum, so it's a bit thicker feeling on your lips. I personally love that. Some people don't, but I almost have all of these at this point and I will never be without at least one of them. And then I picked two lip glosses. One of them is this one, Dior Lip Maximizer. This has been my favorite lip gloss for a few years. It still is. I have multiple colors. This one is shade beige, but I have the cherry one, I have the original pink one. These are so good. They do tingle your lips a little bit, but not in an uncomfortable way. They're everything. My favorite gloss, if I had to pick one. And no, there is no dupe for this. I have not found an exact, something that reminds me of this. I just haven't found it yet. And then the gloss that I have on over the MAC lipstick is Fenty Gloss Bomb in the shade Fussy. Again, you can see I clearly like pink glosses. I love this color and this formula. I have the original one, which is what I have here, and then I also have the heat version of it, which is the one that makes your lips feel kind of hot and tingly. I love them both, but this is a great gloss. I love all the colors, but I use Fussy the most. And the last makeup product is a setting spray. I wanted to pick two of these, but I made myself only pick one, and I picked this one, the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. I also love the Milk Hydro Grip, but if I had to pick one, I would pick this one. I feel that this one really makes my makeup last the absolute best, but the milk one is also great. This is if you need your makeup to really last all day, you need this. It also comes in a mini if you want to try it out in the smaller size, but I don't think you'll be disappointed. This is the setting spray I would go out and buy. Okay, and then we'll finish up with the brushes. Again, I tried to really narrow this down. I have a lot of makeup brushes, and honestly, at this point, all the ones that I have, I love. I've pretty much gotten rid of the ones that I don't love or use that much. So these are like truly my top favorites. The first one that I would go out and buy would have to be the BK Beauty 106 brush, and quite a few of these brushes are from BK Beauty. They are my favorite brush brand if I had to pick one, but the 106 is my foundation brush of choice. I use this for the NARS foundation today. This gives you as much coverage as you want. You can use this and get a lot of coverage if you hold it up really close to the head and stamp on the product. You can get a lot of coverage, or you can hold it out here and really kind of buff in little circles if you want to get less coverage. I love it because the size is perfect. It's not too large or too small. It's right in between. And this is also great for cream bronzer or cream blush. Honestly, I could do my whole face complexion with this brush. I also love this one from BK Beauty. This, I know a lot of people love this one. This is the A506. It's from the Angie Hot and Flashy collab that they did. And this one, I think they normally call it the kitten paw brush because it's shaped like a little kitten paw. It's kind of angled like this, and it's perfect because it fits right under your eyes and you can just stamp in your product. I use it for concealer or corrector, sometimes both. Today I used it just for my concealer, but if you want to keep as much coverage as possible and you want to really concentrate your concealer in the area that you applied it and you don't want it to spread out everywhere, this one is fantastic for that. I would also go out and buy this one. This is the one brush that's out of stock. I'm sorry, I know it's coming back though. And it's the 109 from BK Beauty. Again, this is what I used for my cream blush and bronzer today. So it kind of looks like the kitten paw brush, but it's a little bit bigger. And it's the perfect size for your cheek area. And because it is slanted like this, it kind of hugs your cheek, and you can literally just stamp your product and it applies and blends all at the same time. I can't say enough good things about this brush. I use mine all the time. I have 3 eye brushes. 2 of them are also from BK Beauty, and then one of them is actually from MAC, but we will start out with the BK Beauties first. The crease brush or just all over eye brush that I would buy is the 202 from BK Beauty. So this one is, I dropped it. This one is kind of a tapered brush, so it gets a little bit smaller as you get towards the tip of it, but this is perfect for a crease color. You could put a color all over your eye with this. You can also use the tapered end to put a color in your outer corner, which I do all the time. It's a really good blending brush. You could do your whole eye with just this one brush. But the other brush I use all the time, I would never be without it, is the 208. So this is the little mini angled brush. I use this today for kind of sharpening up my winged liner. I use this with the eyeliner that this one, the classic eyeliner from Charlotte Tilbury. I will apply it and then get a little bit more on my brush and kind of pull out the edge of it a little bit, and it's perfect. It is the tiniest little brush, which is why I love it so much. I cannot be without this brush. I just can't. If you have smaller eyes or hooded eyes and you're trying to do a wing and you're really having trouble, you need this little brush, the 208. And then the third eye brush, I realized when I was planning this video, I feel like I don't mention this brush a lot, but this is a brush I use all the time. So I know I would buy another one, and it's the 217 from MAC. I think this is one of their most classic brushes, but the shape of it is very unique. It's kind of a longer, rounded brush, so you can use this for so many things. But today what I used this for was the Sigma shadow stick. I blended it all over with this brush, and then I also used this for the cream shadow in the Patrick Ta palette. So I used this, went over my whole eye with it. This is a great brush. You can also use this for your whole eye if you wanted to. This one is better for creams, I would say, than the 202 from BK Beauty, but this is one that I constantly reach for. I realize sometimes I don't even mention what it is, but the 217 from MAC is definitely a staple. I would always go out and buy another one of these. And then the last brush is actually this one from Sephora collection. This is the number 55. This is actually, they call it a pro foundation brush. I use this for powder. This is the brush I always use to powder all over my face typically, and I like it because of the shape and the size. So it's kind of wispy, but not too wispy. It's large, but not too large. And I just feel like it does a really good job of getting everywhere that I need it to get, especially like right here, the sides of my nose. Sometimes I find if the brush is too big, it can be kind of hard to get in certain places on your face. But I use this all the time. This is my favorite powder brush. And a few more things just to finish up. I would go out and buy a pack of these sponges from Amazon. These are the brand Bisque, I think. You get a pack of 6 for like $8 or $9, I think, and they're my favorite. They come in a bunch of different shapes, but these are just as good as any other more expensive sponge. Honestly, I would personally invest more money in your brushes and not in your sponges, just because I find brushes, I use brushes the most, and I mainly just use this to kind of blend everything together or pick up any excess product, but I just don't feel the need to spend a lot of money on these. So I'd buy these from Amazon. And my newest obsession is what everyone's loving right now, these little triangle puffs from Amazon. I use these under my eyes to set them with powder. Today I use this with the House Labs powder, and they're great. Again, they come in a pack of like 6 for $7 or $8. And I love them. Then I would always buy a lash curler. My current favorite is the Surratt one. They did send this one to me, but I used to own one years ago and I loved it then as well. This is my absolute favorite. So I would either buy this or I would go out and buy this one from Tweezerman. So either one of these are really good, but I can't be without a lash curler. All right, that is it for everything I would go out and buy if I lost all of my makeup. Hopefully that never happens, but if it did, now you know what my absolute non-negotiable holy grail products are. And these are them. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I will have everything listed and linked below as always. They are affiliate links, so I do make a small commission if you do shop through the links. So thank you so much if you choose to do that. Make sure to subscribe if you have not already, and follow me over on Instagram at simply.blair and TikTok simply.blair1. And I will see you next time. Remember, simply be you. Bye.